Hulamin is Africa's leading and independent producer of semi-finished and fabricated aluminium products and is situated in Pietermaritzburg. It was previously part of the Anglo-American Group. The company has a market cap of 1.2 billion rand and a price-to-earnings ratio of 17. Paul, most of them don't have dividend yields, not offering any dividends.
Yeah, that's a good sign, isn't it, that they're not exactly coining it at the moment. Look, again, this one has the history where Alcan, which was one of the world's largest manufacturers of aluminium products, set up a plant down here. Then they disinvested. Anglo-American Industrial Corporation took it over. Then it got shunted into and merged with the Tongaat interests. Then Tongaat split in half, and now here we have them, Hulamin, on their own. But really it's been a tough call because South Africa doesn't have aluminium of its own. What happened was in the past we had that Bayside and Hillside smelters because we had, again, the cheap electricity. So BHP Billiton and people like that built smelters on the coast. They would float the bauxite in from Indonesia or wherever it comes from, smelt it here, and then these guys would buy the aluminium ingots from them in order to turn into window frames and all the other things that you get out of aluminium. Trouble is, they've got electricity as an input cost as well. BHP Billiton, we know, is not so happy with those assets, and I sense that Billiton is sort of phasing those out and wouldn't mind shutting them down or selling them or kicking them out because they're very obsessed with having first-tier type assets only. So I think Hulamin is in a bit of between the rock and a hard place. A very small player on the global market for aluminium products, which is cutthroat and difficult and low margin.
Indeed, so big competition on the global scale. Would you be getting into Hulamin right now at current levels?
Yeah, probably not for me either. I mean, I think that share price tells the story of Hulamin quite well. Yeah, it's I mean, it's got a slight rand hedge component in it, but overall, yeah, very, very difficult conditions. I mean, you know, its products also, you know, consumed by manufacturing sector. I mean, it sells also semi-finished products as well as finished products. So you need to see a kick up in our building industry and our manufacturing industry, which, you know, you're going to need to see a fairly significant kick up to pull Hulamin out of the doldrums.
So, Paul, hot or not?
Yeah, because 10 decades or whatever, 10 years ago, you know, locally, people would source locally just because it made sense. Now those manufacturers are either closed down or they're battling or they've turned into importers. Now you can land almost anything from China with, you know, container after a couple of weeks. So they've really had to work hard. The local auto industry, they do utilize some of their parts, you know, so radiators and so on that are made out of aluminium. So it's not as though they're totally without hope. And the management team are well-intentioned. Pietermaritzburg guy, Richard Jacob, looks like a solid guy. But unfortunately, it's an industry which has sort of lost its appeal. And as a company and as a listed entity, it doesn't seem to offer the prospect of sustained earnings of any sort, whether they're, you know, sustained earnings growth, not even that growth. That's what the market wants. So I'm afraid it's not hot around about here.
Gary, hot or not?
Yeah, not hot for me either.
So two not hots on Hulamin.